Hello everyone, this is Ija joining. In this video, I'll be demonstrating on how to work on Hive. So Apache Hive is a data warehouse infrastructure built on top of Hadoop for providing data summarization, query processing, and analysis. Hive gives an SQL-like interface to query data stored in various database and file systems that integrates with Hadoop. Internally, a compiler translates Hive query language statements into directed acyclic graph of MapReduce or Spark jobs, which are submitted to Hadoop for execution. For this video, I will be using a tutorial from hortonworks.com. This tutorial is about how to process data with Apache Hive. I'll be using a Cloudera VM in this case. So as mentioned here, we are having several files of truck driver statistics that we'll be importing to Hive, and we'll be doing some simple computing on them. We'll be doing a certain operations on the database as we proceed in this video. So this is a drivers.csv file. We can see that it has different columns such as driver ID, name, SSN, location, certified, and wage plan. The other CSV file is timesheet.csv, which has columns such as driver ID, week, hours logged, miles logged. So this is a Hive interface. Inside Query Editor tab, we'll be having certain options such as Hive, Impala, dbQuery, Pig, etc. Click on Hive and we will be copy pasting our code in this section of Hive. Also, we need to upload our files, the CSV files, in the file browser option. So we need to go to file browser, inside Hive, click on upload, files, select files, and then upload the timesheet.csv and the drivers.csv file. We can see that the files have been uploaded successfully. Now go back to the query editor. Now coming to the queries, the first query is about creating a table called temp_drivers. As I have already created these different tables, I won't be running these queries again. So after we created the table called temp_drivers, we will be loading the CSV file to this particular table. For that, we will be using this particular query. And once we have loaded the CSV file to the table, we can view the table using this command. So you can see that the contents of the table temp_drivers. So after dumping the data from drivers.csv to temp_drivers, we will create another table called drivers, and we will mention the different columns such as driver ID, name, SSN, and their corresponding types. Once the table has been created, we will extract the data from temp_drivers using regular expressions to the table drivers. So we will now see the contents of the table drivers using this query. You can now see the contents of the table drivers. So after that, we will create another table called temp_timesheet, and we will then load the data from the timesheet.csv to the temp_timesheet table. Once this has been done, we will see the contents of temp_timesheet table. So now you can see the contents of temp_timesheet table. We will then create another table called timesheet with columns such as driver ID, week, hours logged, and their corresponding types. Once it is done, we will then use regular expression to dump the data from temp_timesheet to the timesheet table. We will then view the contents of timesheet table using this query. So you can now see the contents of timesheet table. Also inside the Hive, there is a tab called job browser where we can see all the status of jobs which are currently running. Now coming back to our program, we will now run some complex queries where we will be summing the hours logged and the miles logged by different drivers based on the driver ID, and we will group by the driver ID. So we will run this query. So we can see that the job has been accepted in the job browser. So it's running now. So the job code succeeded and it took around 1 minute 9 seconds to finish this job. So we will view the result of the present query over here. So we can see the driver ID and the sum of hours logged and the sum of miles logged by each driver. We will run another query wherein we will be joining the two tables, that is the drivers table and the timesheet table. We will be giving aliases to each tables, such as for D for the drivers table and T for the timesheet table. We will be seeing the driver ID and the sum of hours logged as total hours, the sum of miles logged as total miles. And we will be grouping with respect to driver ID on the condition that D dot driver ID equal to T dot driver ID. So I'll be running this query. You can go back to the job browser and see that the job has been accepted. So you can see that the job is running. So the job finally got succeeded. Now you can see the result of the query which we ran. So for a driver ID of 10, the name is George Vettikaran, and these are the total number of hours logged and the total number of miles logged. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it.